Welcome to I'd Print That. I'm Joe, and this last week was pretty interesting. It was a busy week, a lot going on, a lot of things for me to take over. Still working on a lot of it, getting things in order, trying to figure out how much time I'm going to really need to manage everything properly and still get my work and other things at home done. During this time, I know the social media stuff may take a little bit of a hit. Don't worry though. I know it's there. I'm working on making sure that it gets addressed and I get all that up to date and keep it going. So besides that, I did manage to get a few prints done. I got some of the prints of the month finished up. Some of the Super Mario 1-Up mushrooms. They look really good. In addition, I printed the top half of a Raspberry Pi case. We'll be printing the bottom half this week. I just need to swap out some filament, make some changes, and I should be able to migrate my Pi into that. I'll put some pictures up when that is finished. And I also printed a phone case for my friend's Galaxy S3. His case has seen some better days. This was an old phone that I had. The case had suffered a few drops, had a couple of cracks in it. Nothing real major, nothing that really prevented it from protecting the phone. But since he's had it over the last probably year and a half, it has definitely seen some better days. Whole parts of the case was missing. It was getting to the point where it really wasn't protecting the phone. It took a tumble here about a week or so ago and kind of cracked part of the screen, not enough to affect its use. But he came up to me and asked if there was something that I could do. And I said, yeah, sure, I can go ahead and print out a phone case for you. And after procrastinating for a while, I finally wound up printing a case, and it worked pretty good. Had to do a couple little modifications. The holes for the power and sleep button was a little off and wasn't very accessible, so we went in with a little hobby knife and opened that up so he could get access to that a little bit better. Same thing for the volume buttons and for the headphones. We had to go and open that up a little bit. He has a little adapter that he can plug his car stereo into, and that was slightly bigger than the hole for the headphone jack. So he seems to like it quite a bit. I'll get some pictures of all this stuff posted, and I think I have some pictures I need to post from last week, but that should be coming a little bit later this week. There's some things that we haven't talked about in the podcast. I know there's a lot of new people out there that are into printing or who have printers and are struggling with some bed adhesion issues or, other issues with, let's say, starting a print and the nozzle not extruding enough filament when it first starts. And all this can be prevented by doing just a couple of things. And there's a few settings that you may not know what they do within your slicing software. And that is where rafts, brims, and skirts come into play. A raft is going to be a horizontal latticework of filament that is located underneath your print, which can be easily removed when you're finished printing. They are normally used with ABS to help with bed adhesion, though they can be used with PLA. Now, regardless of the material, a raft can help stabilize a model with small footprints and can also create a strong foundation on which your print builds up on. There are some settings in your slicing software that can affect your raft. Now, not all settings are available in all softwares. I know Slicer has some very basic settings, which most people use, and it's just basically going to be how tall you want your raft. Generally, the basic settings are going to be your raft layers, which gives you control over the height of your raft. Normally 3 layers is common. The raft offset, which is how far the raft extends beyond the perimeter of the print. So if you have a print, let's say a 10 millimeter cube that you're printing, if you have a 3 millimeter raft offset, it's going to print a raft 3 millimeters wider on each side of that cube. So it'll be 16 millimeters square for that raft. And then you're going to have the separation. The separation determines the distance between the raft and the print. This impacts the removal of your raft. Normal distances can range anywhere from 0.14 millimeters to 0.2 millimeters. A lot of the time, the slicing software is going to be default and hard set to 0.2, though if you have it much lower than that, let's say if you go down to less than 0.14, you may have issues with the actual model fusing to that raft and it being very difficult to remove or unremovable. And then finally you have your raft infill. It works just the same as the infill of your model. The only thing you should keep in mind is that if the percentage is too high, then it might bond solidly to your model itself, but you don't want it so low that the first layer of your print is unstable and uneven. And once your model is done printing, you just remove the raft and the print from your print bed, and you should be able to peel that raft off generally by hand, though you might need either a scraper or a thin spatula or maybe even a hobby knife and gently slide it between the raft and the model to start its separation. And if you find that it's a little too difficult to get that model separated from the raft, go into your settings and make some adjustments. Little trial and error, and you should be able to come up with the settings that you prefer that give you great bed adhesion while allowing your model to print perfectly. In addition to a raft, you have a skirt. Skirts don't help with adhesion at all. All a skirt generally does is allows you to prime the extruder and the nozzle before it starts printing. So what it does is it will print a border around your model, around the perimeter of the model, generally 1 to 2 layers, and will do 1 to 2 outlines. And it allows you to not only prime the extruder, but it also allows you to see if detect any issues with bed leveling, or if there's any issues with heat of your filament or bed adhesion. So if you print the skirt and it's not sticking, your bed level may be off, your heat may be off, stop the print, peel what's there off, clean your nozzle tip, and then level your bed. Make sure you have some nice blue tape on there. Maybe use hairspray, or you use glue stick. Whatever you use to help the model stick to your bed, go ahead and make sure it's got a nice layer of that on there, and then repeat the process. Once you know that brim is printing nice and evenly and it's got a good flow to it, the rest of your model should be able to build up on it just fine. Skirts are typically offset 3 to 4 millimeters from the part itself and may have 1 to 2 layers and 1 to 2 outlines. When you have enabled supports for your model, the outline of your skirt may be extended to surround the supports. There are other potential uses for a skirt as well. For ABS parts, a tall skirt can be constructed as high as your model if you desired to insulate the main model from any drafts, so it keeps it nice and warm. A tall skirt can also be used with a dual extruder to catch any oozing from the secondary nozzle before it moves back onto the main model. For my settings, I use 2 loops with a 1 layer height that is 4 millimeters from the model and has an minimum extrusion length of 5 millimeters. So it's going to has to extrude at least 5 millimeters before it'll start printing. So if I have something very small and it only takes a couple of millimeters to go around it, it'll create additional loops until it reaches that minimum extrusion length. It's pretty handy. I at least know that by the time it reaches the end of the skirt, I've got a nice flow going and I'm not going to have any gaps in my print. In addition to rafts and skirts, there are brims. And unlike a skirt, a brim is actually attached to the print and extends outward, similar to the brim of a hat. Brims are typically several outlines and they may be 1 to 2 layers tall. Brims are often used to stabilize small parts or islands, which are isolated parts of a model, because brims help those delicate areas stay connected to the print bed. You can also use a brim to help with bed adhesion by increasing the model's surface area. This might be a better option than rafts because brims take up less time to print and they require less filament than a raft does. After the model is finished, you can take off the model from the print bed and remove the brim with either your fingernail, a scraper, a spatula, or you can use a hobby knife, but be very careful. It doesn't take a whole lot to remove the brim. I generally, if I've got something with a small surface area, recently I printed a T-Rex skull for my nephew as a birthday present. He's got a birthday coming up. I printed in a glow-in-the-dark PLA. Because the model is so large and heavy, and the area that actually makes contact with the print bed is small, I used a fairly large brim. That way I was sure that that model wasn't going to shift or tip or make any movements. It turned out really nice. I didn't have to use any additional support on it, and it was easy to clean up. And unlike a raft, it doesn't leave, generally a raft will leave a rough patch that needs to be sanded or cleaned up. A brim, I was just able to pop it right off the print bed and it looks just as good as the rest of the model. I'll see if I can find some images of some prints that show a brim, a skirt, and a raft, and I'll go ahead and get those posted. Moderately busy week for news. So there's some things that I really caught my eye. One of those is last November, the German automaker BMW Group had celebrated 25 years of using 3D printing technologies, and they announced that it will continue to expand the use of additive manufacturing within its parts production process. Included in the expansion, BMW will pursue integration of HP's multi-jet fusion technology in their manufacturing to further reduce costs and production times for auto parts. Those who own BMW cars or looking to buy BMW vehicles, this is actually a nice thing. It helps reduce the price of those vehicles, helps them be a little bit more competitive, and you might be able to pick up 3D printed parts or a 3D printed file direct from BMW that you can print at home or have printed at a makerspace or wherever you decide to get it printed at to install in your vehicle if something breaks. Along those lines, Daimler, the world's largest truck manufacturer, will begin using 3D printing to make spare parts. As of September this year, Mercedes-Benz trucks will use 3D printing for plastic spare parts, including spring caps, air and cable ducts, clamps, mountings, and control elements. Currently, Daimler has more than 100,000 printed prototype parts and will be expanding production, so rather than shipping vehicle parts across the globe from Germany, they can now send a digital blueprint of a spare part to a selective laser sinistering or SLS printer without the need for stocking or shipping the part. This helps reduce costs for the part as well as the need to house very old pieces. In addition, parts for models which are even several decades old can be ordered using a special part number. By eliminating the need to manufacture tools for each part, the 3D printing process can secure supply even for models which are no longer produced or for parts which are produced only in very low quantities every year. This goes right into what I was just talking about with BMW. By being able to reduce the amount of space necessary to hold these parts in a warehouse, they don't have to have that overhead for that real estate, which means they could reduce those sizes, reduce those costs, reduce the power needed, reduce the manpower needed to have these people stock or maintain the stock of these facilities, and should help reduce costs to the end user. Another reason why 3D printing is so great. For those of you looking at getting into 3D printing or just don't know which path you're wanting to go, 3D Print is going to be hosting a Formlabs webinar on August 4th. And it's going to be titled How to Choose the Right 3D Printing Technology, FDM versus SLA versus SLS. And you can register for that now. Part of that, I would imagine, is going to come down to cost. Your SLS and SLA printers are going to be a little more expensive than your standard FDM printer. Your normal FDM printer is generally what you see when you go look for 3D printing online. It's a plastic filament that gets fed into an extruder through a hot end and then laid down in layers to build the model from the base up. Your SLA and SLS printers use other materials, but work similarly. SLS is going to use a bed of powder that has a laser that traces out the image, and it then, once finished, you can pull this model out from the bed of powder, and you have a nice piece. And then you have the SLA printers, which uses a small vat of liquid and either DLP projection or laser to help cure that resin, and it will lift this model out of the liquid, and then you can cure it with a UV lamp or some other UV device to harden it. There's also going to be differences in quality. Your FDM printer is going to be probably the poorest quality of the three. Your SLS printer or SLA printer are going to be probably the better of the two. So if you have any, if you're curious about these technologies, go ahead and sign up for the webinar. It's free. Just go out to the website, I'dPrintThat.com, and under our blogs for the podcast, you can go ahead and click the link and register now. Here this last week, Nintendo made a surprise announcement. Other than releasing Pokemon Go, at least in a couple countries, they also announced that they're going to be releasing the NES Mini, a throwback to the console they released about 30 years ago. It is just going to be a small, probably looks like palm-sized version of the NES. Be able to hook up two controllers like you would normally do with your standard NES that was released. But it is going to come with 30 pre-installed games and be able to connect to your TV via HDMI. While you can't pick one up now, you will be able to pick one up starting on November 11th. and the price will be a mere $60 with an additional $10 for a separate or for a second controller. Things that the NES Mini will not be able to do: it cannot connect to the internet, and you will not be able to install any more games on it. The nice thing is the games that it does come with will be Balloon Fight, Bubble Bobble, Castlevania, Castlevania 2 Simon's Quest, Donkey Kong, Donkey Kong Jr., Double Dragon 2 The Revenge, Dr. Mario, Excitebike, Final Fantasy, Galaga, Ghosts and Goblins, Gradius, Ice Climber, Kid Icarus, Kirby's Adventure, Mario Brothers, Mega Man 2, Metroid, Ninja Gaiden, Pac-Man, Punch-Out featuring Mr. Dream, Star Tropics, Super C, Super Mario Bros., Super Mario Bros. 2, Super Mario Bros. 3, Temco Bowl, Legend of Zelda, and Zelda 2, The Adventure of Link. That is a great lineup. There are many of those games that I was very fond of when I was growing up and look forward to playing when it comes out. In additional gaming news, Dead by Daylight this last Thursday now has a Survive with Friends mode available, and they are going to be introducing new killers and new maps in the future. So, what is Survive with Friends, you may say? Before, you couldn't actually connect to a server with your friends in Dead by Daylight. You could start a private game with them, but you were not able to rank up at all. You just have what you would receive if you were to play publicly. Now, with Survive with Friends, you can group up and join a server with other friends. Very handy, very nice, and it's a feature I've been looking for. If anybody plays Dead by Daylight out there, drop me a line via the website. I can go ahead and get you my Steam information. We can get on each other's friends lists, and I would be very interested in getting more people involved in some Dead by Daylight gaming. My wife and I both play, and my friend Travis, who I provided the 3D printed Galaxy S3 case for, also plays. So there's 3 players here, and all we need is a couple more and we can get a full group going. If you have any other friends that play, I'd be more than interested in join up with you guys. Over this last week, some things that I have done, there's an Amazon affiliates account that's been set up, or associates account set up, and there's now 2 new sections on the website, one for the reviews that we have done or will be doing, and one for some 3D printing supplies. We have anything from basic supplies out there that range from little spatula, some digital calipers, laser thermometers, to things like blue tape, Captain tape, and even filament. If there's anything else you guys think that you want or will be buying frequently and you want to support us, let us know. What this does is allows you to buy the supplies that you need while giving us a small percentage of that purchase. It doesn't change how Amazon works. You still get the ability to get the products you like. You still get the same quality and everything else that you expect from Amazon. You're still protected by Amazon's service guarantees. All it does is gives the show a very small referral. Nothing huge, but it adds up over time and helps us cover our expenses. As far as any additional 3D modeling or anything that I talked about last week, I haven't been able to move those too much farther forward. I am working with G-Tech, trying to find a nice way to connect the active cooler fan to the Mi Creator 2's expansion board on the side of the extruder. And I have not started on the GoPro mount for the Mi Creator 2, though I'm expecting to get some of that done this week. Unfortunately, my time's been wrapped up in doing work-related things and migrating all of the duties for the podcast into my court. I want to thank everybody who has offered their support and offered their help during this transition. I really do appreciate it. It really helps, and it means a whole bunch. Right now, I'm keeping everything in-house. I know I might be biting up maybe a little more than I can chew, but I'm sure I'll figure that out sooner than later. And if I do need any help, I will make some postings and let people know. I know a couple of podcasts ago I mentioned looking at doing a contest for the Razer Kraken Pro headset Overwatch edition that I have. And I think one way that I could do this is see who can come up with some intro and outro music for the show. I would really like to have some sort of musical introduction and something to close the show out with. If you have somebody who's talented, or if you're talented enough to make some music, please, get it polished up. I'm looking for something that's in the 15 to maybe 30 second range on opening and about 15 seconds for closing. If it does sound good enough to be done with the same audio file, that would be great. Past that, just go ahead, go to our website, and I will get a little submission form for that. You could also just use a contact form. Let me know that you have some audio that you'd like to share with me, and I will reply back, and then you could use that to attach that file via email and send it to me. I'm very curious to see what people have out there. I've kind of created an intro file, but I'm not 100% that I like it. I would be more than happy and excited to see what people have. And as a thank you, I will I'll mail out a Razer Kraken Headset Pro to the winner. And I will also send you some prints of the month. I think I will just give you a year's worth of it. So that way you can enjoy the benefits of being a $5 patron member. And you also get a pretty nifty headset that's worth around $90 US and is not available anywhere else. This is a special deal. It is a Overwatch edition Kraken Pro headset that is the Reaper version. So it's nice black and red and has the Reaper emblem on the actual outsides of the earpieces. If you want to support the show, Patreon's a good way to do it. We do accept $1 and $5 a month donations via Patreon. It's an automatic thing taken out at the beginning of each month. If you get in by the end of the month, you will receive the Super Mario 1-Up mushroom that we have this month. Haven't discovered or haven't figured out what I'm going to do next month because it's still a little ways off. Still got a few weeks to go. But get subscribed to Patreon and put in the $5 pledge, and I'll send you one of those 1-Up mushrooms. Give you some life. You can also go out to our website and buy things from our website. It gives us a small kickback on those supplies that I was talking about. You can also just, if you don't feel like donating, you can go out and subscribe to us on SoundCloud. Go out to Twitter, follow us, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Google. If you subscribe to SoundCloud, you'll automatically get, and follow us, you'll automatically get notifications of when new podcasts come out. And same thing on Twitter. Whenever I post it, it will auto-tweet it, so you'll get notifications. I thank everybody for listening, and for those of you that follow us, and that's going to take care of it this week. I am Joe, and remember, if you can imagine it, you can print it.